Segment. I'm Alex Coffey. I'm still joined by the co-host of Fast Market, Kevin Hinks, but we'd like to welcome in Evelyn Baker, TD Ameritrade Network contributor, and the co-founder of LikeFolio.com, Landon Swan. Good morning to you, Landon. Good morning to you, Evelyn. Evelyn, we're talking to very American companies, I guess, in the sense of how long they've been around, what they make. We're talking Pepsi, we're talking Coca-Cola, beverages and snacks.
Hey guys, right. These two are very American companies. They've been ingrained with our history for, pretty much half a century. But both stocks are up about 10% over the past year, with Coke outperforming slightly. And really, the two are less of direct competitors with each other as they used to be. And they both just really exist as huge entities in the consumer staples space. Coke, as we know, is more beverage focused, while Pepsi has transitioned to be more of a snacks focused company with more of it with its Frito Lay division. But both companies pay dividends. Pepsi actually recently raised its dividends slightly. And as consumer staple stocks, they both represent a safer portion of the financial markets, especially going into some inflation pressure, which I know that you guys were talking about earlier on the show. But I have a couple tweets for you guys today. And my first one says, I love the cola. Pepsi is also a great company, but Coke for me every day of the week. Such a large company that almost acts as an ETF due to the amount they own. They both now also own a piece of the low ABV alcohol market. They both have been introducing some competitors to the hard seltzer craze that we've seen the last couple of years. I have another tweet to speak to that specifically that says, the Topo Chico hard seltzer is the best thing that has ever happened to me. So Coke recently launched the Topo Chico hard seltzer at the beginning of this month in China, actually, specifically, had been here in the States for a few months before that. And Pepsi on its own also launched a line of cocktail mixers under a new brand called Neon Zebra. The most popular hard seltzers right now are still Truly and White Claw, which are owned by Sam Adams and Mark Anthony brands respectively. But since both companies are really trying to get into this space now, it seems, I have a question about this for you, Landon. I saw that LikeFolio has some Topo Chico specific data on Coke. It's an older brand that's emerging in popularity, especially lately. And I'm really curious as to how you're viewing Coke's getting into the hard seltzer market. Is it maybe a couple years too late into the trend's peak?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's late at all. I think that, they've got some competition. They've got established brands. But, when we look at how well Topo Chico has done, it's really incredible. In fact, we've got a couple of charts that I want to show you guys today. One of them is a scatter plot that shows all of, not all, but a lot of brands from Coke and Pepsi. And we don't include Topo Chico on it because they kind of break the scale. So if you look at how well they've done, they're up almost double year over year, absolutely booming. They had, a little bit of seasonality going there towards the end of summer, but absolutely booming now. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it is a very high quality product, but also getting into the hard seltzers, adding alcohol to the product really, makes it more appealing for some people. And those competitors that you mentioned have done extremely well. So they're very smart to get into that space. So again, we see this as an outlier because they are so far off this chart. When we look at a chart of all of the big brands of Coke and Pepsi, it's really cool because you can see that Coke is doing fairly well. They're holding, you can see the brands here, Coke, Dasani, and Powerade, kind of on the bottom right there. They're on the right side of zero on that left and right axis, which means they're gaining purchase intent. Happiness is a little bit lower compared to the rest of the group, but you can see where the rest of them are. Moving to the left, the snack ones are off to the left. Bubbly is really the only brand that Pepsi is doing well with. It is it's the sparkling water of Pepsi. They don't have an alcoholic version yet. They do have a caffeinated version, but you can see it's doing pretty well. But again, if you would put Topo Chico on this chart, it would be off to the right. You'd have to go, several feet over to the right because it's the Bubbly's at plus 15, and again, Topo Chico is plus 100. So I think what's happening is that just Pepsi did really well over the quarantine when people were staying at home and snacking more, putting on the COVID 15 pounds. But now that that's kind of over and snacking has really gone down tremendously. In fact, it's down about 19% quarter over quarter on a mentioned basis. I think it's going to hurt Pepsi a lot. And not only that, but breakfast is down 8% quarter over quarter. So that's their Quaker division. So you can see that the trends are moving away from Pepsi. And with Coke being more drink focused and bars and restaurants starting to reopen and Topo Chico doing so well, we see the trends are sort of moving in Coke's favor to it. So these companies are very similar, but it's a tale of two different trends that are helping one Coke and hurting another Pepsi.
Landon, on the surface and visually, I understand why people love to compare Coke and Pepsi. They've been doing it since I was on the CBOE in the early 80s. They've been watching these two and trading them and making comparisons. But do you find it difficult to compare these two companies because of Coke being almost 100% liquid, while you can make the case, and I've joked about it in the past, that PepsiCo should be called Frito Lay, as it's the biggest chunk of this company. So it is without a doubt the largest share of their earnings. And do you guys find it hard or difficult to make comparison to these companies? Now, they're both consumer staples, that's for sure, but one has nothing but beverage and one has a whole bunch of food, Landon.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really think that comparing them directly makes sense. I think that, if you go back, the marketing has always been Coke versus Pepsi, and there's all kinds of cool advertisements. Yep. They battled on the Super Bowl, whatnot. It's always been Coke versus Pepsi, but that's just the drink market share. And really, as you're pointing out, Pepsi is far more than that, and they have exposure and opportunities that Coke does not. Right now, a year ago, I would say they had opportunities because everyone's snacking more and eating at home as opposed to going out. But now it's all changing. And so if you look at what Pepsi's facing, it is a decrease in snacks. We're tracked diets as well. We've got some food makers as clients, and the top 5 moving diets are all pretty conscious of calories, and they're also conscious of being sort of anti-carb, which is obviously what Pepsi produces. They produce carbs. And so, the diet trends are moving away from Pepsi. Snacking, as you can see here, monster spike. It's hilarious how big the spike is in COVID, but then it's, falling back down to normal levels. And over the last quarter, I think people are saying, you know what, things are reopening. We talked about how they like to buy new clothes. They're getting in shape. They're going to gyms. They're working out at home. People are just resuming their normal life, and they're calling 2020 a sort of a hiccup. And so with snacking down, I think that's going to hurt Pepsi. But yeah, I don't really think it's fair to compare these two companies directly. They're very different, although the stocks are both right at all-time highs. So I find that pretty interesting.
Landon, I've often described it as kind of hitting the pause button on life over the last year. As so many things, it seemed like that's what we were doing. But when we are comparing these two companies, particularly in the beverage space, it seems like sparkling water in general, whether it's the seltzers with alcohol or just the bubblies, the non-alcoholic one, have really taken the world by storm over the past 3, 4, 5 years. That seems to be the trend that meets what you're talking about here. Low sugar, low calories, a healthier alternative, but you still get a little bit of flavor. You're not just having the water. How important is it, though, to see Coke take that step into the alcoholic beverage space? Is there opportunities in the long term where they can expand within there? That's kind of a new animal for Coca-Cola to step into.
Absolutely. I think that, these are huge companies with tons of research. They know where the market's going, and they know that these sugary drinks that have, in the 80s and 90s, that was all they sold. That's all they needed to sell. But people are moving away from that. Diet has gone up tremendously. And of course, there's also concerns about diet drinks, healthiness. So people are moving over to just soda water. And so I think that it's very smart, their acquisition of Topo Chico, and getting into the alcoholic portion of it. I think that they're going to see a really big pickup, and they're going to move into that space. If I am those producers of White Claw or the others, Truly, whatever it may be, I'm concerned that Coke's moving into my territory. And I don't think it's going to be long before Pepsi starts introducing a hard version of bubbly as well.
Landon, one last question here. Topo Chico, what has there been a change from Coke on how they present this product, or did they change the product? What do you think is making this wholesale change? Or is this just an older product that they had stored up that is now suddenly just burst on the scene and gotten popular? Because your data on purchase intent is, it looks like a new product that's taking the world by storm, but Topo Chico isn't a new product, is it?
No, it's not a new product, and you're right. It does look like it just sort of took off. But what's interesting, I didn't provide this chart, but if you break out the hard version, you can see where that actually produced a lot of the spike. So it's a popular drink. It's a high quality drink. I think it's actually happiness is lower than Bubbly's, but purchase intent growth is far higher. Bubbly's a bigger brand right now, but Topo Chico's catching up. But I think that the introduction of the alcoholic version has caused a lot of that spike because it had a sort of a cult following and it's getting more popular, but then you introduce the hard version, everybody starts talking about it and starts drinking it. So I think that had a lot to do with it. And that's why, again, I think that Pepsi is going to be smart to introduce the alcoholic version of Bubbly soon. And I wouldn't be surprised if Coke expands what it's doing with hard seltzers. And again, be very concerned to be one of those competitors that those early movers, White Claw, Truly, I think that they are definitely concerned about this move.
Landon, as things have been opening up more, I've been getting out more, and I swear every time I go somewhere, there's a new hard seltzer that I gotta try, and I try it every time. And so whatever these companies are doing, it seems like it's working, but let's leave it there. The co-founder of LikeFolio.com, it is always a pleasure. Great conversation as always, and thanks to Evelyn Baker as well, TD Ameritrade Network contributor. Look forward to talking to both of you soon.